Greetings! I'm the Game Overthinker, and today I'd like to conduct an experiment. I'm going to talk about video games. I'm also going to talk about women. In fact, I'm going to talk about women in video games. Okay, this should be fun. There's been a lot of criticism in recent years over the roles of women in gaming, specifically the roles of female characters in video games. Much of it reasonable, some of it not.
As tends to happen, I'm left feeling like a lot of people are arguing past one another, in part due to the games industry's appalling lack of investment in its own history, with those challenging the industry to create more game heroines often ignoring or seemingly unaware that the medium has in fact boasted more specimens thereof than the 2 or 3 noteworthy examples peeking out from the margins of this generation's otherwise complete homogenization into macho mediocrity, while the industry itself appears unwilling or unable to bring these facts up itself, even when it might help them win an argument once in a while.
Long story short, as is often the case, I find that the solution to problems in gaming's present can be found with a quick look back into gaming's past. Here are 9 ass-kicking video game heroines who already exist and who really deserve a comeback. Number 9. Princess Athena from Athena.
Athena was an early 80s platformer from SNK, not the most popular or best remembered thing they ever produced, but it was ambitious in combining platforming with exploration, power-ups, and physical character changes, plus many other elements that would become standard to that genre later on. Suffice it to say, the titular princess is basically a female Super Mario by way of Toriyama meets Frazetta. What's not to love? Now in SNK canon, she's actually the distant ancestor of the equally badass Athena Asamiya from Psycho Soldier and the King of Fighters series, so she's actually turned up a few times since, but it's more than high time she got a feature shot of her own.
Number 8. Moby from Worm, Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Often called a lost gen of the late period NES, Worm combined large sprite platforming with brawling and shoot-'em-up gameplay involving a flying drill tank and even first-person shooting gallery sections. Think Blaster Master meets Bayou Billy. Now granted, Moby herself isn't big on personality, but that in itself is kind of notable. There isn't some special narrative reason why it's a female protagonist, it's just, why not?
And not for nothing, folks, but everyone keeps talking about how if Nintendo refuses to provide fans a proper Metroid game, someone else should step in with a franchise that's similar but fresh. Well, here's a pre-existing franchise that's pretty much just begging for someone to use it for that. Number 7. Marina Lightyears from Mischief Makers.
Mischief Makers was the overlooked gem of the early Nintendo 64 release schedule, arriving looking deceptively last gen at a moment when the lack of games justifying that console's next-gen hype was making everyone really grumpy. Not exactly the best time to release a side-scroller about an ass-kicking robot maid, even if it was a much-hyped collaboration between one-time Sega console hit machine, Treasure, and Square Enix. The game has gone on to stature as a one-off cult classic, but meanwhile Marina sits on the shelf as yet another unique, perfectly viable 90s protagonist gaming hasn't managed to do jack with since. I mean, Sparkster was good enough for a revival, but not her.
Number 6. The Tarantula from Deadly Creatures.
Pretty much everyone forgot that the early post-hype period of the Wii played host to this enthusiastically unique game where you played as a scorpion and a tarantula whose struggle to survive became incidentally intertwined with the grim exploits of a pair of human criminals in the American Southwest. And yet even more people have forgotten that the tarantula in the story was female. Yeah, how about that? She's not even gendered in any kind of anthropomorphic sense either, so that's pretty cool, right?
Am I the only one who's wondered why there aren't more games where you play as animals, insects, whatever in their natural habitats? I mean, the possibilities would seem to be endless. Number 5. Ptolemy from the Fairyland Story.
Fairyland Story was the clear-the-screen arcade title that Taito made in between the obscure Chack and Pop and the mega-hit Bubble Bobble, where they more or less perfected that formula. Fairyland plays about the same, but instead of dragons and bubbles, you've got a little witch girl who defeats her enemies by turning them into delicious cakes. Oh yeah, cakes. I can't believe there weren't more of these either. This genre may be on the wane, but why haven't we seen more of this character? Last time I checked, heroes who fly around on brooms and use magic, pretty damn marketable. Kinda sounds like a layup to me, and speaking of which...
Number 4. The Witch from Cauldron.
If Old Snake can headline major games, why not old women? Really old women. I mean, it can't all be perky anime cherubs and warrior maidens, right? Cauldron was a Commodore 64 and ZX Spectrum mainstay, originally developed when things went awry, with what was supposed to be a game based on the Halloween movies. It was a platformer shmup hybrid, today best remembered for atmosphere and punishing controls.
But I say there's potential for Grandma Gross out here. I mean, playing as a scary old hag, flying around on a broom, blasting people with magic powers and potions, I'm already sold. Number 3. Vanessa Z. Schneider from PNO3.
PNO3, or Product Number 3, was part of the Capcom 5, a quintet of high-profile releases intended to jumpstart the Nintendo GameCube as a viable platform for AAA development, but instead produced only a single genuine smash hit, 2 cult classics, and a cancelled title called Dead Phoenix, along with this third-person shooter featuring a cybernetically enhanced heroine who grooved out to the game's kicky electronic soundtrack while blasting enemies and obstacles with show-offy acrobatic posing. It lost a lot of ambition during its development cycle, combined with a disappointing sales, and is today remembered mainly for its heroine and the offbeat persona suggested by her unique character animation. Many of its developers went on to form Platform Games, which makes sense given that Bayonetta and Vanquish are essentially this game split into 2 different franchises. Either way, can't we always use another sassy, doesn't-give-a-fuck cyborg chick, right?
Number 2, Clarice from City Connection.
Ah, City Connection, the arcade classic where you race around the world's greatest cities and prove it by leaving a paint trail covering all the streets you've driven across.
Splatoon crossed with Crazy Taxi? Why would it even be a question whether or not we should revive this?
But yeah, the rarely seen driver of the car was a gal named Clarice. Now don't feel bad for not remembering that fact. When the game was ported from the arcades to the NES, they turned Clarice into a dude for no good reason. Lame. Now fortunately for her, she was restored to a more visually prominent role in a recent Japanese mobile gaming revival of the franchise, but I say this one belongs back in the big leagues. What new could be brought to the table? Well, for one thing, Clarice's signature car is a 1982 Honda City, a trendy vehicle in Japan that never came stateside. One of that line's niftier value-added features, optional built-in collapsible mini-bikes in the trunk. Yeah, now you're excited.
Number 1, Francesca from Cryon Conquest.
So yeah, Cryon Quest was basically Mega Man but with a little witch girl. A full lot of witches in the female protagonist backlog, come to think of it. That could be a show in and of itself. But since we've resigned ourselves to a present where basically every other game stars just this guy, a revival for Mega Man but with magic and ovaries would feel pretty close to revolutionary at this point. Is that sad? Damn right, but I'd still love to see a new game with this character.
Now, let me get real here for a moment, folks. When I first sat down to do the necessary research in compiling this list and making sure I had all my facts straight, I was worried that I wouldn't actually find enough characters to get a full set. But instead, it turns out there were enough. I could have done 3 to 5 more of this list. Maybe I will at some point. And while I guess I kind of knew that in the back of my head, actually seeing it laid out in front of me, it kind of blew my mind.
Now, I'm not going to tell you that gaming was some kind of gender egalitarian paradise back in the day. Hell the fuck no, nothing was. But the simple fact is that female characters headlining major release games was a lot more frequent, even commonplace of an occurrence from the arcade golden age right up until the start of the Xbox era. And to my mind, that puts a serious dent in both the cultural criticism view of gaming as an eternal irredeemable boys club, and even more of a serious dent in the counter-argument to that says, it's always been this way, so why change? No, it has not always been this way. Once upon a time, Clarice and Rad Racer drove the same streets. Once upon a time, Moby and Dig Dug explored the same inner Earth. Once upon a time, Athena and Mario battled evil in the same arcades. The strong female protagonist is not some invention of media and political agitators being forced into video games. They were here from the start, and they were pushed out along with so many other good things by the Doritofication of this medium's pathetic present-day state. But they can and should make a comeback, and it shouldn't even take a miracle. All that needs to happen is for modern gaming to wake up and start respecting its own rich and diverse history.
On second thought, the miracle might be more likely.